I'm still here.
Well, it says live.
Beth, you're live.
Am I live? I'm live. We're live. Josie solved our problem. Woo! I had technical difficulties 2 weeks ago on this. Crazy. All right. Well, welcome to Women Investor Wednesday, Tina.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy. This is why everyone needs a Josie.
Yes.
So for the audience, we've been having technical difficulties for 17 minutes. So thanks for those of you that are joining us. I'm sorry we're late. So Tina LaMonica is younger than me, but she wants to share with all of you that it's never too late to invest. But before we get there, I'm sure, Tina, you know why I started this podcast and why I started the Women Investor Summit, right?
Yes.
The stat. What's that evil stat I read about 5 years ago?
Oh, I don't remember the stat.
3% of all commercial real estate investors are women. 3%. And of the 3%, half are inherited and spouses signing on guarantees. So you and I are like we're part of a 1.5%.
That's a tiny amount. Yeah.
So when I started investigating this and finding out why women like us that are in the business every day, learning about it, learning information that we can use, why are you not? I said, I would ask women, are you investing at all? And they'd say, yes, in the stock market. And I said, well, why aren't you investing in commercial real estate in the business that many of us are in and do on a daily basis? And they said, well, it's risky, it's complicated, I'm scared. And I would drill down on that. I go, well, isn't the stock market risky and complicated? And so finally, a lot of women would say, well, I don't know any other women doing it. And then I said, oh, well, that's a problem I think I can solve. So we started the summit. And then since we capped that at only 250 women, we can't, we can't expose all the women I would like to other women like you investing. So that's when I started doing the podcast, because I thought we could reach more women than just 2 days a year at the summit by having the podcast, and which you are now a guest on, and you're going to share your story. So let's talk about, tell them what you do for a living and how long you've been doing it if you want to. And when you said, okay, I'm going to stop just looking for fees and start investing in my future and my family's wealth. So what do you do for a living? And then when did you make the pivot?
So I'm in commercial real estate, and I've been in it pretty much my entire career, over 25 years. And mostly corporate real estate. So I worked for Westfield Malls. I worked for Foot Locker, Smith Barney. And then I transitioned into office leasing, and I was in charge of 75 office buildings, mostly Class A, for GE Capital. So what happened in the Great Recession is GE Capital started selling off all their properties, and everybody got laid off. So I decided to be a broker as a temporary job, but it turned into a permanent job 14 years later. So it was one of the best decisions that I made, just because flexibility, unlimited earning potential. And I had never done sales before, so I did learn that aspect and have been doing many sales since I started at NAI. And then it dawned on me, hey, my clients are buying properties, and I know how to do this. So I was one of the women that was scared to invest, too risky, too much money. So I said, let me just try it. So I knew that I wasn't going to be able to afford properties in Southern California. This is very expensive.
Which is where you live.
Which is where I live. So my daughter was going to William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia. And she had a friend whose family owned a real estate company. And I just threw it out there. Hey, I'd love to invest. Do you have anything in mind? So I ended up buying a duplex from this gentleman's parents who owned a real estate company. And it was pretty far from Richmond. I still own it. And that was in 2019.
So how much was it?
Very little. It's 170,000. And it stays rented. You know, I've never had a vacancy for more than like 2 weeks.
So is it student housing? Like, do students live there? Okay, no.
Just a duplex in a nice part of, it's in Stanton, Virginia. It's like an hour and a half from Richmond.
So did you get a loan for it, or did you pay cash?
No, I paid cash.
And have you ever put a loan on it and refinanced it? No. Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, so what were you afraid of before you did that? What was the fear?
The fear of
before you invested, where you said I was scared, like I was one of those.
You know, I didn't have a lot of disposable cash, so it's like if I do something, it has to be right. Otherwise, I can't make a mistake for my family. So that was the worry. You know, I don't want to, you know, make a mistake. And so
how did you overcome that fear with this deal?
Because I had been doing sales as a broker, and I, you know, done a ton of sales and watch my clients, you know, have tenants and earn money and see expenses and all that stuff. So I understood the process of buying, and I understood investing through my clients.
And they brought you this. So these people that you knew kind of said, well, we have this deal all the way across the country.
So yes, I trusted them. And, you know, I still own the property. So after that, I got a little cocky with it. I'm like, wow, I can do this. It worked out. You know, I know what I'm doing. And then I don't know how I got this bright idea, but I did. Well, I'm going to start buying auction properties. Sight unseen, auction.com. So I bought one, and it went well. And then I said, I'll just keep buying these. So I bought 4 auction properties. So that's,
and they were they all residential?
They're all residential, very small. So the amount was, they were really cheap. Now you can't get them for that cheap. And they've really appreciated. I didn't expect that in Virginia. I thought, you know, it's only going to be the coastal areas that are going to really have a big jump in appreciation, but they've appreciated, and they were really cheap. I think 3 of them were like in the 60,000 range. Wow. It was super cheap. You can't find that anymore. And what I found really interesting, because I was just used to California and how it works here, is that the properties I bought were so clean. And here, like if someone gets foreclosed on, it's really horrible what they do to the property. You know, every window's broken, the toilet's taken. I mean, it's a mess. I mean, I'm being honest, you know. Yeah. but one of the condos I bought, they left everything. It was immaculate. They left the washer and dryer. They left, I don't know what happened to the people, but most of the properties were in great condition. I didn't have, you know, many issues. And I did a lot of research like I would do for clients. I did a lot of homework, like the school district, the crime, the, you know, the history of the property, just everything I could find, I dug up, and they all have no major issues, and I got really lucky. And the last one I bought was last year, and it was a different part of Virginia, and that was more money. No more $60,000 homes. So anyways, the rents are good, and those have been doing great. And then in 2021, I decided to look for a commercial property. And of course,
Yay!
that's my background.
Insider trading legally.
So it's like I jumped, it's like 170, 60, 65,000, whatever. And then I jumped to 365,000. I got brave, a little braver. And that
Did you get a loan on that one?
That one I had to get a loan, yeah. And it's so interesting. I called a bunch of banks in Virginia, and it was the same answer for 90%, 95%. Then finally one said, okay, but I would call, I'm like, I need a loan from this property. And they're like, where do you live? I'm in California. Oh, no, thanks. They wanted someone to live in Virginia. They didn't want to give a loan to someone that didn't live in Virginia, which I thought was strange. So I found a bank, Virginia National Bank. They've been great. And it's a amortized loan, but it's only 5 years. So of course it was a great rate at the time. So we'll see.
And how much was the purchase price? Oh, you said 365.
And it was 100% leased by a preschool. So there's a Montessori school in there, a great tenant. And it was all retrofitted for the school before I bought it. It's on a major street. And so I am really happy with the property. I'm close with the tenant, but I have property managers in all these places. So I did hire property managers.
How'd you find them?
Well, pretty much Googling, talking to people. I wasn't 100%, accurate in some of the people I hired, in vetting them out. There were a couple of managers I had to get rid of, but for the most part, I'm using two of the same ones that I started with in 2019. So
now with the Montessori, is the lease coming up anytime soon that you're going to get to?
I know they're paying really low rent. The prior owner was a restaurateur in Richmond. He owned a lot of restaurants. This was just like a side investment. So he didn't know commercial from anything else. So he was an expert on, restaurants. So the lease is lower than market. They did have an option and it was fixed. And so I have to wait.
That's okay.
That's okay. They're a great tenant. I know it's really difficult to find another location so those are a type of tenant that's hard to move.
Right. And their enrollment, I'm sure, is great.
Yeah, they do really well. And they're a nonprofit. And
they are?
Yeah, they're a nonprofit. This Montessori school, I think so. And they've been great. And I did use my residential manager for this one. He's an older guy and he said I could do commercial. I said, okay. So
do you take a fee when you buy deals?
Good question. I didn't with the Montessori school building because I wanted to get the deal. And see, it wasn't going to be a lot of commission. So and his wife had it on LoopNet and she was a residential agent. So I
never take a fee. I don't want to be in the broker. I want to get the deal.
Yeah, I know. So after I bought that commercial properties, I bought some residential in between. And then this year I bought an office building in Newport News. And I did not ask for a fee. And I saw his fee and it was more than what we give. I mean, it was a full 6%. I'm like, whoa. So anyways, that was fully leased. And
how much was that?
That was $600,000. They were asking $9.
Tina, you're doing great. You're going up and up and up and up. Now, did you get a loan on this one?
So the seller, I asked the broker, hey, can the seller finance? And he said, fine. I'm like, wow. Here, you'd never get a yes. In California, no, that's just not going to be possible. They want their money out. And so The guy had a connection with William and Mary. My daughter went there, so that was like, a nice thing. And I was easy during the transaction, so I got the deal, and he was offering, he was okay with offering the financing. So
amazing,
it's
amazing.
5.75.
Okay, good.
It's interest only for 5 years. And we just do bill pay. He gets it automatic. And actually, it's probably more than he was going to get if he kept it and had to manage it. He did not have a manager. So it's interesting how I got a manager. You're going to laugh. I called a bunch of firms in that area, and they wanted a fortune for this tiny building. But one of the guys I spoke to said, hey, maybe I'll moonlight for you.
Wow.
He works for a huge firm. So he's moonlighting with his friend who has properties. And so I have two guys for less than I would, at a big firm. So
amazing.
And they're doing great. I mean, they're experienced. He does big shopping centers. So I'm not worried about it,
Great. And so how did you get a loan? Oh, you said this guy's seller financed. So did you have the cash to put down for the equity?
Well, it was 20%. So here in California, it's 30% when you get a loan. So it's much less. I don't know about other states, but Virginia is always 20%. So
okay.
I took money out of my 401k. So that's a little trick to
you borrowed. Did you borrow from it, or did you just take it out? Like, I know at our age you can just take it out, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I didn't borrow.
Okay. So you took it out.
So I took it out and used it for the down payment.
Amazing. So you have, what do you think the value is of all of your all of your real estate investments at this point? Do you know?
I don't know. No, I have to kind of add it all up. And I also got one, actually the bad manager I had, the bad property manager, he brought me an off-market townhouse in Newport News, and I paid very little. I think it was like 113. It's like worth 180. So I can't really like be so mad at him because
right.
but he we had to get rid of him. So that was just recent. But I'm getting that ready to lease, and it leases for $1,600. I paid like $113.
Wow. Are you going to hold all of these?
So the goal for me is to try to replace as much of my brokerage commission as possible. So when I want to stop working or work part-time, I have an income.
Yeah.
So I don't have a pension. I don't have a company that I got a pension from. I have a tiny one from Foot Locker that's just not even, can't even count it. Get a couple cups of coffee. That's about it. But so that was kind of my goal. And, there's a lot of people that don't have a pension and are like working on commission like us. And it's like, if you can start building up a portfolio to have that income and that cash flow, that's a good goal to have.
So have you ever thought about syndicating, or have you ever thought about being an LP in someone else's deals?
I put some money into, there's a gentleman at our firm who's also a broker, and he did a syndication, a small hotel in Santa Barbara. And I didn't put that much money in, and it's been kind of a disaster.
Oh no.
Even though he didn't know what he was doing. He was remodeling, and there's permit issues and whatever. So I know. So
I guess you're not going to do that again.
I'm like, and everyone's like, oh yeah, we're making money on all the other properties he has. It's like, nah, I didn't have a good experience. So I think I'll just do my own thing. There's a woman I used to work for or work with at GE who was a property manager, and she was one of my property managers, and she was excellent. And she has an MBA from UCLA, and she left property management. She's actually in Florida. I can't remember the city she's investing in. I'd have to get it for you. But I asked her, are you taking investors? Because I trust her. I worked with her, and she said yes, family and friends. So when I'm going to be in Miami in February for the NAI conference, so I probably will meet with her. Of course, I asked her, what happens in a hurricane? What kind of roof do you have?
What's her name? Maybe I know her.
Well, she's brand new in that area. I'll get it for you. Yeah.
Well, yes. So I'm going to be speaking at that NAI conference you're coming to.
You are? Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yes. And then you need to come back in March for the summit.
So that's where we originally met, right? No, not your summit, the women's summit. Summit.
Globe Street.
Yeah, that was so awesome.
Yeah.
That was so empowering. And I just felt great walking out of there. I don't know what you thought.
Yeah. Did we meet at last year's or this year's?
Oh, the two years, the one in Deer Valley.
Oh yeah, Deer Valley. I've been to and then last year was Tahoe, and then this past year was it Tahoe again? Next year, I think it's going to be in Salt Lake City.
Oh wow. Yeah. I've had conflicts. I went to the SIOR conference in Berlin this year, so I couldn't.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, that was great. And so now I have between SIOR and NAI, there's a lot of conferences.
Well, I think you would love our summit, where we have 250 women like you investing in their own, growing their own wealth. We have speakers on stage talking about, where I do like an interview like this, and then they go into breakout rooms and they show underwriting of deals. And it's all different asset classes: student housing, self-storage, retail, and it's just a room full of generous, inspiring women, inspiring each other. It's great.
Oh, that sounds awesome. That sounds
all
awesome.
Investing. It's all about investing.
That's great.
And mindset, expanding your mindset. Like don't you wish you would have started earlier?
I'm kicking myself. When you're young, you spend money on foolish things.
Yeah.
I can't.
In Hawaii.
Closets full of clothes, shoes, things I don't need. And I just I have two daughters, and they're in their 20s. And so, that's something I'm going to talk to them about.
Are you putting them in deals? Like I'm putting my boys in deals now. Like they save money, they work and they save money. And like I just put $25,000 into a hotel deal in Green Bay, and my football fan son put $5,000 of his savings of the 25.
Oh,
because the hotel is near the Green Bay Packers Stadium, Lambeau Field.
Oh my God, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't. One is looking for a job, and the other one's an attorney. She just started as an attorney, but she's paying off student loans and stuff. So she's eager to get involved. She wants to go with me to Virginia and see all the properties and understand how they work. I think it's important for your kids to know, because something happens to you, they need to know, where are these properties?
Right. Exactly. I have in my trust, I have someone who I trust who's in the business, that he's the advisor to my trustees, who the two women that are the trustees, actually they've invested with me, but they could not make an investment decision. Like, when should we sell? So in my trust, I've highlighted a person who would be able to be capable of doing that. And he's much younger. So I think he'll be around for a while.
They tell you don't appoint someone older than you.
Exactly. So so if you were speaking to a woman who maybe isn't our age, younger, what would be your advice if they're especially those of us women that are in the business and not investing? What would be your advice to them, how to get over fear?
Buy small first, so you're not, putting yourself out there and buying, a big more expensive property. Buy small. And I would say, save all the bonuses and all the extra money you have. And you don't need a lot of money. That's another thing I hear from women is, oh, I don't have the money to do that. But
Right.
if you think about it, most of America, you could probably get something for 100,000, or not the coast, obviously, but, middle America, you definitely, in the Midwest, you can get properties between 100 and 200,000.
Yeah.
And so you only need 20% down. So it's not a lot of money. I mean, I remember getting bonuses and not spending the bonus money. If I had just invested the money, I would have a lot more properties today.
Well, I tell ladies all the time, buy properties, not purses.
I totally agree with that.
I say buy the purses from the distributions from the properties.
Yes, that's a good idea. Yeah. No, most important thing is just start investing. It gives you freedom. Like for my daughter who's working at Big Law, it's a grind. And if she started investing, she would feel less pressure to have that work at a place like that, right? If you have a side gig and you're getting 10,000 or 20,000 a month, you don't have to put those hours in. It gives you
and if they and those folks that are not in our business, right? Like she works for a law firm, she probably has a chance to put money in her 401k or an IRA, right? In our IRA. And now, for as long as this is allowed, you can use your IRA. If you're not our age and can't take money out of your 401k without penalty, you can self-direct an IRA to a real estate investment. So while you're putting money in an IRA, invest. And then when an opportunity comes your way, you can self-direct that.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I heard you can take from a coworker who's 30 something. She took money out of her 401k. I guess you have a one-time right without a penalty. So she did that to buy a property.
Yeah.
So.
And there's all kinds of ways, to do it. One of the guests I interviewed on the podcast a couple episodes ago was talking about some kind of insurance policy that you can buy and populate it, put money in, and you can borrow against it to invest in real estate.
Oh my God. I got to look for that.
Very interesting. So buy small. I agree. Like when people want to invest with me and they're young or they haven't done it before, I'll say, well, the minimum is 50, but what do you want to put in? And they'll say, well, can I put in 25? And I'll say, well, if I lost all of your 25,000, would that change your life? Oh, yes. I go, okay, then you can only put in 5,000. Like put in, because every deal is risky. So if you are an LP with someone else, just see what the most minimum you can put in. These last two deals I invested with one was 2 women, this Green Bay deal. And then another one is Oakland, California, with this other woman. And both of them is the first time I'm investing with both of them. And I've given both of them 25,000, which if I lost that money, I wouldn't be happy, but it wouldn't destroy me like if I gave them 500,000. So I think starting small is great advice. And however, whether you're buying something for 100 to 200, whether you're investing with, a jockey, like some GP that you trust, like you said, you trust the woman, your former property manager from GE, but starting small to make sure that you are, then you're watching how do they invest? What kind of decisions do they make? What's their transparency, right, with the investment? So I have a woman that I've now invested, I think, 4 times in multifamily, And each time I invest with her, my investment goes up because my trust is growing with her. The results of the properties, as I've now been doing it a few years, is becoming higher, more significant. So just testing, right, is good. That's a good thing if you're worried. And then saving your money. I say that all the time. They go, how do I get started? I go, save money. Because I was asked multiple times, and multiple times I had to say, I don't have any money. And my partner / boss who wanted me to invest, he's like, what are you doing with all your money? I'm like, well, there's a Jaguar in the parking lot, and I just got back from a first-class Hawaii trip. And he goes, you're an idiot.
How did you meet these women that you invested with?
The Green Bay women I met, how did I meet them? I don't remember. I think I met them at, it might've been the Globe Street conference. And this other woman from Oakland, California, I met her at a Twitter event. I met her on Twitter. Then we met in real life at a Twitter event. And then she spoke at my conference last year.
Cool. That's great.
And yes, I'm very excited for her new project. So I love your advice. Any last words for the women and men in the audience that listen to this podcast?
It's never too late to invest. Don't worry about how old you are. So I think that's the most important thing. I started very late. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've had people say, well, I don't want to invest if they're investing with a jockey whose hold is 10 years. Like, I'm 63. I'm not investing with people that are holding their properties for 10 years unless I see it as something for my kids. Now, do I think I'll be around 10 years from now? I certainly hope so. 73 is still kind of young. But if I need cash flow, right? If I want to make like what you had said, replace your fee income with passive income, then you have to be buying cash flowing assets and not investing in a lot of, one of the last deal I bought was in 2016, was an office building that I knocked down and built a Starbucks strip center. And now I'm building a Wawa. I bought that in 2016. I didn't think I would still be working on it 8 years later. So, so those long-term redevelopments or developments, I'm probably at this stage not doing a lot of those, like I maybe would have when I was 30, 40, 45, 50.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And also another thing is, don't be afraid to invest out of state. Because I hear that a lot. Oh, I don't want to invest in another state. I'm too far away from the property. Well, that's why you have property management.
Exactly. Yeah. I invest as an LP all around the country. But for me, as far as running my own deals, because I don't have managers, I manage them myself. I definitely like to have them all within 10 minutes of my house.
Well, that's nice. You're lucky you can do that.
Exactly. But it's hard. I don't get to buy a lot of them because they don't come up very often either. So there's that's why I LP. And that's what's so great about the summit is I'm meeting more women. Like, I have 200 women in the audience that are part of my acquisition team. I get to invest in their deals, which is awesome. And help expand that 3% number, which is deplorable. Yes. Well, Tina, thank you so much for being a wonderful guest from California. My son, my 24-year-old, lives in LA. He moved out there a couple of years ago. He has a superhero podcast. And the best part of it is living the dream, going to all of these movie premieres, flying to New York City for Deadpool and Wolverine. But best part of it is he's off the payroll doing what he loves. So, and living in LA. So good. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for inspiring women.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for inspiring women of our age. Never too late. That's Tina's advice.
Okay.
And thanks for being patient at the beginning.
No worries.
There's technical difficulties. Okay. Have a great week.
I'll see you soon. Bye.